Well, thank you very much, Chairman Harkin, and I really also want to thank all of our witnesses who are here today to talk about this very important issue. I really believe that all Americans deserve to feel secure in their workplace, and discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity should not be tolerated in this country. There are currently 16 states, including my home state of Washington, that have enacted statutes that prohibit discrimination, and as we know, another 5 states bar discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation alone. I'm really proud to say that back in 2006, our Washington State Legislature enacted a bill called Washington Law Against Discrimination that added protection from discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity to our state's civil rights laws. And it was a giant step forward for the civil rights of Washington State workers. These state laws do provide important protections and should be commended, but employers in a majority of states can still fire, refuse to hire, or otherwise discriminate against individuals because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. Sadly, this discrimination is happening in workplaces across our country, and we've heard some of the stories from the panel today. It really is time to put a stop to this kind of discrimination once and for all, because it is unacceptable. So I'm very proud that I am an original co-sponsor of this important legislation that will demand that employers evaluate the performance of an employee on the basis of their work, not on their sexual orientation. This legislation has bipartisan support. There's no reason it can't be passed quickly through our committee. We need to work together, I believe, to strengthen protections for our workers and ensure an environment of equality at workplaces in America. So I really appreciate your having this hearing today, and I want to thank all of our witnesses who are here today. I did have a couple of questions I wanted to ask. Mr. Charles, I wanted to ask you, you and others have testified that nearly 90% of Fortune 500 companies include sexual orientation in their non-discrimination policies, and 50% also include gender identity. As a representative of one of those companies, can you comment on why it is important for employers like General Mills to have inclusive workplace policies? Is it good for business?
Thank you, Senator. As I've said before, it is absolutely critical that employees are able to bring their full self to work every day. It has been our experience that when employees can be their genuine, authentic selves, their engagement, their productivity, and the innovation that they bring to the table is significantly increased. That allows our organizations to grow and thrive. It's the bedrock of our success. Talent is the key to everything that we do, and we believe that ENDA will unleash the potential of thousands and millions of employees to be able to be their full selves.
Well, I appreciate that. And do you think General Mills' model could be replicated by other companies?
Absolutely. You know, we already live in a place where 87% of the Fortune 500 are providing appropriate protections. We believe that companies that do provide those protections outperform those that don't. While we recognize that we are large organizations, we believe that it's a model that can be replicated throughout corporate America, regardless of the size of the business. It's as simple as talking to your employees, talking to other companies that have already gone down the road, and leveraging experts like HRC to provide guidance and insight on how to effectively introduce this sort of thing into your workplace.
Very good. I appreciate that very much. Mr. Broaddus, I wanted to ask you, I've heard from many transgender constituents who've had similar experiences to yours. One constituent in particular was fired from her job after 29 years for what she believed was largely due to her transition from a male to a female. I wanted to ask you today what your experience has been, what your experience has had on you, both financially and emotionally.
It has been extremely tolling, and it still is very emotional for me to talk about this issue in a personal way. I suffer post-traumatic stress. I lost a extremely well-paying position and career, and have never been able to recover financially as well. I mentioned earlier my student loan debt is quadrupled, and it's unbelievable. I would have never fathomed in my whole life, growing up where I grew up and believing that you just work hard, you go to work every day, you do the right thing, and the rest will follow, that my life would have ended up this way, because I was a stellar employee. I still have all my job reviews in my garage in a box, because it was so demoralizing and dehumanizing to be let go. I mean, for 7 3/4 years, I was a great and stellar employee, and then once I announced, which was already what was visible to the rest of the world, because I was just being me, it ended very rapidly, and overnight I became lazy, shiftless, all these sorts of things, just literally overnight once announcing transition, and it was a quick break to the end at that point. And I know many others that suffer the same thing, and it'll go with me to my grave.
Well, thank you very much for your courage, both in going through what you've gone through, but sharing it with everybody else, and giving us a face to identify with what is really an important issue in this country today, and the importance of making sure that every person in this country has the potential, and it's better for our economy, it's better for our businesses, it's better for our country. So thank you very much for your courage.
Senator, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope we can move this bill expeditiously.
I hope so. Thank you, Senator Murray.